So, next thing what we are doing is simple animation exercise. So, really simple walk cycle what we are going to still animate today. So, first of all, let's go back to the skinning or bind pose. So, if you have changed accidentally this mode back from rigging to modeling, please change it to rigging. And then up here, go to the skin where you will select, go to bind pose. And now your mesh is back into bind pose, what we want when we begin to animate. Uh, and of course, for animation, there is specific workspace predefined for us. From here, from the drop down menu, we go to the animation and animation selected. We can see that our timeline down here expands and we are soon seeing the curve for our boxman. So our aim for the walk cycle is really stiff walking, so nothing too difficult here. First thing before we start to animate, we have to check one preferences. So we go into Windows and from the Windows we go settings and preferences and preferences. And preferences window opens for us. And then we have to go into the time slider section. Currently here on the timeline section, the playback speed is turned on to be play every frame, which basically means that it will be super fast playing and it won't match to the FPS what we want. So we have to select here 25 FPS X1 from this drop down menu so we can see our animation played correctly. Play every frame selection here is Maya's default and it's mainly or it's only for creating simulations because when you are creating simulations, for example water or fire, might have to calculate how the particles are traveling or how the fluid is acting on every frame. But when we are doing keyframe animation, 24 FPS X1 is the way to go. And then save. And now we can see that our timeline starts from frame 1 if you look at it here, and it will end up to 120. Average walk cycle is from 30 to 40 frames, so we have to shorten a bit our timeline. And the shortening happens that here, down here we have these numbers and we are modifying these, so I'm just selecting this 120 and changing it to be 30. And now we can see that, okay, our timeline ends into 30 and starts from the 1. And this window here is graph editor. Soon we are seeing that there is going to be different kind of graphs. So basically graph editor is showing what happens or which axis our bones are moving. Currently we haven't done any control rig for our character, so we are going to animate straight to the bones, which is not optimal, but if you are doing some placeholder 3D models and graphics, it's something what you just have to do. Okay, but first we are going to start from our legs and make those move. Just check that you are on the frame 1. You are moving the time cursor here on the timeline just by holding mouse's left down. And the time cursor here is the little bit lighter gray to the back if you compare it to the background. And first of all, what we want, I will turn this leg on its y-axis to be minus 30 degrees at this side. And here on my channel box I can see when I'm rotating my leg that the exact value what is going to be. So I can type here minus 30 and then enter. And then I have to select my other joint here and rotate it backwards 30. Great. And now we have starting pose for our legs. Next thing what we have to do is of course save this starting pose with keyframes. So adjusting or creating the keyframe, you just have to press hotkey S. When you are pressing S, you will notice that to your time cursor it appears this red line, and that means that on that frame you have a keyframe. And then of course we have to keyframe our left leg as well. So pressing S here. Next thing what we can turn on is actually down here. When we have created first keyframe on the our timeline, we can toggle on our auto keyframe. When this option is turned on, it will automatically, when we are moving on our timeline and change some values, it will record it automatically and we don't have to press S anymore after we have created the first keyframe for each joint. Okay, so now if we go to the frame number 15, which is in the middle of our animation, and now we are changing this value to be positive 30 like this, and then we are changing this other leg to be minus 30, and then we drag our time cursor. We can see that there is something definitely happening on our legs. And actually there is something happening on my mesh as well. Something what I really don't want to happen. Let's see what this does. Okay, it's just a glitch. nothing too serious. Okay, so if you accidentally create keyframes, like I have done here on the frame 14, I just come on top of my frame and click mouse right. I get this menu where I can select delete, and now it's deleted. And of course, if I accidentally created keyframe here as well, I have to delete it from the other leg. Okay, now my legs are walking halfway. So it's half loop for my legs. Then I go back to the frame 30 and I'm going to put this value here to 30 for this leg, which is the original position, and then to the other leg minus 30. And now if I press the play button down here, I can play my walking animation. So legs already moving, and the next thing what I want to do is animate the arms move. So I'm selecting my right arm here, and first of all I'm actually turning it close to my body, and then I'm turning it backwards like this. So for the rotate Y I'm typing 45 degrees, and now I'm pressing S to apply the keyframe there. And because I have auto keyframe on here, the next adjustments what I'm doing in the timeline are recorded. But now if I start to move it here and I'm still on the frame 1, it will record my chains into the same frame, and that's not good because there is no further information or I'm not animating anything. So the most important thing to remember when you are animating is first move on the timeline and then adjust your uh, position or the new position of your animatable object. And then 30, and I'm typing back 45. If you don't want to use exact values, you can just use rotation tool and do it with the eyeballing. Okay, and then to the other side I go back to frame 1 and rotate it next to my body. Then I will actually, I did this wrong way around, but I will fix it. So I go to frame 1 and then I rotate this on 45 degrees here, and I'm pressing S to get first keyframe down here. Then I'm going over to 15, and then I'm rotating it 45 or minus 45, and as you can see the auto keyframe is doing work for me. And then next I'm turning or going into 30 and changing this to 45. And now I have to still fix my earlier mistake. So now when I go on top of my first keyframe, I can rewrite this by pressing -45, and then I'm go to 15, and I'm changing this to 45 only, and here on the 30 -45 again. And now at this point I will quickly save, and then with the play button I can preview my animation, and it's working nicely. The thing what I could add to this masterpiece of animation is of course some rotation to spine. So if I'm selecting the spine joint here, not the lowest one but the spine joint B, and I'm rotating it on Z-axis to -10 and pressing S to get first keyframe, and then going to the frame 15 and then typing here 10 and then going back to the frame 30 and putting -10 here. I get nice animation to my spine. And of course the last thing what I want to animate is the head. So I'm selecting the neck joint on frame 1 and I'm turning it like this, so 10 degrees sounds or looks nice on rotate Z, pressing S, going to the 15, changing it to -10, and auto keyframe again does the work for me, and then going to 30 and change this to the 10, and I have masterpiece of animation here. And okay, the last thing what I'm going to animate for this piece is some rotation for the elbows. So here on the farthest point I will add keyframe and I bend it a bit like this, and then I go frame 15, bend it like that. On the frame 7 I will zero this out, and then I go frame 15 and I bend it a bit, and then maybe frame 22, make it 0 again, and then let's -20 to frame 30. No. So there is also some nice bending. And same to the other side. So first frame, bit bend, and then pressing S to get keyframe. Number 7, zeroing this out. And number 15, bit bend again. And 22, zero this out. And then we check. Okay, we can turn actually this first frame to -25. So it will be easy on here frame 30 to just type down like this. And now I think our animation is finished. And here in the outliner, if I click my spine joint A active and press H, I can hide my spine for the preview purposes. And we have nice animation here.